Welcome to Made in Papa's Woodshop. Today we're going to be working on an eagle, and I'm going to show you how I go about getting started to find the picture, set up the artwork, and the first search is here on the web, and I simply go in and I type something like blueprint for cut lines to chainsaw and eagle. And look at that, we get all kinds of stuff. Now, this one right here comes from a place called chainsawcarve.ca, and I have looked all over the place to try to find this person, whoever this is, to give them credit, but I cannot find them. So it seems like nothing ever goes away on the web. It's out there, but I can't find who it was. So then what I do is I grab the image. By save image as is often a good one. I would go to my files and I would find eagle, and of course I've already got all kinds of stuff in there, so you can see here, let's just call it eagle, and I'm going to save it, and that will put it downloaded into my file. There we go.
If you like this kind of content, please like this video and subscribe to my channel. I appreciate it very much.
Next, we're going to go to that file and select it. Where'd it go? I just called it eagle. There it is. I'm going to right mouse on it and say open with, and you can open it with all kinds of stuff. Everybody probably has something called Paint or Photos. I often open mine in Photoshop, but here it is. And you can see on this one that it's got grid lines, and I'm going to try to enlarge it here. There we go. In my computer, I can hit Control and then roll the mouse wheel, and it gets bigger. So the purpose of doing this is to help you see how I'm going to determine what size log that I need. So if I were to say that each of these grid lines is an inch, so from the edge of the wing here on the left all the way over to the front of the breast, it would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, which is to the midline, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, kind of 7. So if this were inches, then my log would need to be 15 inches. But an average, or a female eagle is about 43 inches tall. And so let me count this way and see if this is going to make any sense. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Well, we know it's 8. So 8, 16, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31. So this is just a little smaller than a full size, and I want the one I'm going to do to be a third scale. So we would take 43 and divide it. Get my calculator out here on my phone. We take 43 inches on the calculator. Actually, let me pop one up here so you can see what I'm doing. There we go. I'm learning how to screencast and get all this stuff on here. Oh, okay, that's cool. All right, so if a full-size eagle, since a full-size eagle is 43, and this one is showing up as 31, let's see. Let's divide by 31 and see if we got something there that makes any sense. Okay, yeah. So we would take everything times 1.387 in order to get it to full scale. So I don't want it full scale though. I want it 1/3. So what is 1/3 of a 43-inch eagle? 43 divided by 3. So I need it to be roughly 14 1/3 inches tall. So in order to figure out, okay, now how is this going to work? If this is 31, and I want it to be 14. How do we do that? Well, we'll clear it again, and this time we say, what is 31 divided by 14? And that gives us a 2.214. So every dimension that's on here, we can divide by 2.214 to see what we need. So let's think radius. So we've got 6, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So this, if this were 12 inches across, that would be more narrow than this side, because this side takes all 8 and then about 7 more. So that'd be a 15-inch diameter log plus bark. But again, I don't want it that big, so I'm going to take 15 inches and divide it by our number we came up with, 2.214 equals. Okay, so I'm only going to need 6 3/4 inch log in diameter this way to get it proportional to an eagle that is going to be 14 1/3 inches tall. So because sometimes bark takes up a lot of room, I'm going to add a bunch to this. I'm not just going to go look for a log that's 7 inches in diameter. I'm going to look for something that's more like 9 or 10 inches in diameter, so that I know I can cut the bark off, and I'm still going to have room for the outside edge of the back of the wing here, and the wing, the tail, the tip down here, to have room to come clear out. So I'm not worried in this case about the beak, because I'm going to do the head turned sideways. It's when I do the cut from the back, I'm going to have to make sure I don't cut off too much and take out the beak. But that's how I find something on the internet, pull it up, take a measurement. This one was really simple because it's actually on a grid. Sometimes it's not that simple and I have to put it into Photoshop, and then I force the application to make it a certain height, and I keep the ratio locked. So when it makes it a certain height, the width expands exactly proportional. And that, let's say it's a squirrel and I want it to be 7 inches tall. Well, then I crop the picture down to exactly the top of the squirrel's head and the bottom of the squirrel's feet, and then accept the crop, and then tell Photoshop that I want that to be 7 inches, and then it proportionally does it. And then I print it and put my inch grid lines on it, and then start figuring out like we just did here. But in this case, since we've already got grid lines, and I know that I want my eagle to be about 14 1/3 inches tall total, and that's from the tip of the wing here to the top of the head, I was able to figure out how many boxes are here, and there's 31. And if we said each one of them was an inch, what would we have to divide by to get to 14? And we figured out it was 2.214, and that would reduce it to a 14-inch tall eagle, which is 1/3 scale of a full-size adult female eagle, which is 43 inches. So that's some of the mathematical machinations I go through to figure something out, so that I have something real that I can use for my carvings. So then the next step, once I figure that out, then I go out into the yard and I'll show you what I've got out there, and we'll pick a log. And then to make it transferable, we'll come back to the screen and I'll show you how I take this image and make it exactly 14 inches tall inside of Photoshop, how I drop a grid over the top of it so I have an inch by inch. I've got an orange grid that I found that I drop over top of it, and save it so that I have something to either stencil from or to kind of eyeball draw. I'll hold the thing up and look at it and draw, but sometimes I'll have a flat enough log or a clean enough surface that I can lay clear tape all around the edge, and then I'll trim all around the edge of that piece, and I'll show you all of that when we get to it. So right now we're going to go outside and we're going to pick the log, and I'm also going to show you the process I'm going through to get a full-sized eagle into play. The reason for the 3rd scale is I'm I have a third scale one ordered, but if I end up making a third scale into firewood, mm, that's okay. I've got another log that's that size. And so I'm calling that one the practice piece, not because it's less important, but because I have more logs that size. I'm going to do it first and play with the proportions and play with how the feathers overlap each other. And while I'm doing that, I want the bigger log to dry. So I have a log out there that's, I'm going to call it 1,200 pounds. And we'll run through the calculator here and I'll show you how we determine how much that weighs, and I'll show you the come along and the chain and the rebar and all that stuff that I'm going to use to get it stood up on end. And I'm going to do that before I start on the practice one because I want that one to be drying out some more. We'll debark it and then we'll do the practice one and then we'll do the big one. So this is the beginning process here, to find a picture, to figure out what an inch is, to figure out the math on what full scale would be, to figure out the math on what 1/3 scale would be, and then we're going to go pick the log. So we'll come back to the screen here, and right now we're going to go and we're going to pick a log. As soon as I find the stop button. Aha, there it is.
We've left the computer and we're outside now. I don't know if you can hear that noise, but that is an awfully good sound of rain falling on a tin roof right above me. There's some thunder clapping around me, and it makes me want to take a nap. Rain on a tin roof always makes me sleepy. So what we're going to do is make a quick tour here to find a log the right size. We're looking for one that will accommodate a 1/3 scale eagle that's about 14 inches tall. And we're going to look for a log that's the minimum of 7, but with bark and everything, maybe 10 or 11 inches. Let's take a walk and pick a log. Now I'm down at Papa's Wood Shop, and I am here at one of the log piles. These are all cherry, and let's see if we could make an eagle out of this cherry log right here. Yes, that is going to work. That one is 10 inches, and even if I cut all the bark off, it's still going to give me what I need, and I'm going to need at least 24 inches. It is going to be good. Yep, look at that. There's 24, and I've still got plenty of logs. I almost get 2 out of this one.
Now we're going to take a look in Photoshop with our piece of art we picked from the internet. Remember, we went out there and did the search, and we came up with this piece here. And I did notice on this one that Step-by-Step Eagle by Chaz Neighbors has been added at the bottom. I did not notice that when I found it. And it appears that he is at chainsawfest.webs.com. So I want to give him credit for that and show you what I'm doing here. So I decided this eagle is going to be 17 inches tall. So in order to get a printout that is 17 inches, I've come up here to the crop tool here on the left, and you see I've got these little handlebars, and so I'm going to pull them in to the edge of the back view like so. Pull this one up to the bottom of the tail feathers like so, and come down to the top of his head like that. Then come up here to the little check mark, click, and it sets it as all that remains. Now I'm not going to save it because I'm going to use Control Z to back out of this and do the other view. Now to size this, I come up to Image, come down to Image Size, and then you'll see here this chain link. It means that the height and the width are connected, and that's important. I want the proportion to stay the same. It's the height that needs to be 17 inches, so I just highlighted it, typed 17, and you can see here that it changed the width to 8.463. Let's say OK, and it's bigger now. And you notice the width is not the width of the eagle, it's the width of the grid. But I only needed one that was the exact height or exact dimension of the eagle itself. Now I'll go to File, come down to Print, and I'm going to print this in pieces. And so this is good here. it comes down past the second set of 8. See the midline here? That'll be fine. So we'll print this, which I have done. You click here and print. And then you'd come up here and do it again. File, print. And this time, you see how it's got the X with the arrows going in every direction? If you left mouse on it, you can drag it up. And so drag it all the way up. And I am in Photoshop 2023, by the way, because all the details matter on what you're clicking, depending on what version you're in. So this will be the bottom, and then I hit print, and it shoots out that bottom piece. I cancel out of here, come back to my regular screen here. I like to come back to this tool here. It seems to be least confusing if I just grab the move tool and click. Then I'm going to hit Control Z, which is undo. Control Z, Control Z, and it's undone everything I did prior. Then I hit crop, and I do the other side. I bring this one up to the bottom of the feather there. Come down to the top of the head, a little bit more there. Bring this one in to the back edge of the feathers. Bring this one into the top edge of the grid. There we go. And hit that. And there it is. Same thing. Go to image. Come down to image size. Make sure it's linked. Choose this. Key in 17. It changes the width appropriately. And there it is, properly sized. And we do the same thing. We go up to print, or to file, come down to print. Print the top half of it. We print, and then you do it again. File, print, and then scoochy this all the way up until you have the bottom edge of the tail feather, and hit print. And I'm going to cancel out of it because I've already printed it. And there you go. Now, I have printed them out and taped them together. And you see this midline right here? What I did is I trimmed down on this bottom piece so I could see this midline come together all the way across, the back of the wing and the front of his chest come together, and then I taped it so it would be the full size. So this is a 17-inch side view, and then this one I did the same thing, printed the two pieces out, taped them together, and now I have a grid that tells me where the midline of my sculpture is. You can see it in quarters: top fourth, top half, 3/4, bottom fourth. And it gives you a really good idea when you put this up beside your sculpture to help you know where you are and what you're doing. Now I'm actually going to trim around some of this, and a method that I just decided to use today is to cut in and then fold these back. And so this is where you get to put all of those kindergarten skills to use. See how I folded that back in? And then I made cuts in several places so that I can compensate for the angle of the round. And then when I get this through all the way, I'll tape the back down, and then I can actually hold this up against my sculpture in order to, I can't exactly trace around it because the log is round and it's 3-dimensional, and this is flat and 2-dimensional. So it requires that you hold it and then eyeball across the edge of it for where the log turns, and make sure you put your marks, you know, straight back in on the log. And I'll show you that when we get out there and start putting this on the log.
If you like this kind of content, please like this video and subscribe to my channel. I appreciate it very much.